All right, listen up. This is your top secret briefing. What you're about to see is highly classified. We're going to declassify one of the most covert operations in the history of information control. Pay attention. I know, it sounds a little out there, right? But just think about it for a second. What if Gertie the Camel, that kind of quirky character we all see, wasn't just a mascot? What if she was actually a highly trained operative, an agent whose whole mission is to control what you see and, more importantly, what you don't?
So first things first, we need a threat assessment. We got to identify the key players in this undeclared war for information.
On one side of the board, you've got our guys, Hecklefish and A.J. Gentile. They're the forces of, let's call it, uncensored, chaotic truth. And on the other side, that's our target, Gertie and her whole clandestine organization, CAMEL. They represent total secrecy and, you guessed it, censorship.
So what is CAML? Well, think of them as a deep state spy agency with one single job, maintaining what they call the mundanity barrier. Their entire mission is to filter reality, to stop all the weird, chaotic truths from ever reaching the public, to keep everything, well, boring and normal.
That brings us to our mission. It's codenamed Project Truth Leak, and the objective is simple: expose and dismantle KML's entire operation, right from the inside out.
The plan's got 3 phases. It's pretty straightforward. First, the heist. We got to get our hands on the intelligence. Second, the delivery. We need to get that intel to our allies without anyone noticing. And finally, activating the asset, waking up our agent on the ground who can actually verify this stuff.
All right, let's dive into Phase 1, data acquisition. See, to expose a secret, you can't just guess. You have to find it at its source. And we're going to the source of all knowledge. We're kicking off a high-level search of the Akashic Records Nexus. Now, this isn't your local library. This is the ultimate repository of everything that has ever been or ever will be. It's a tool for pulling out pure, unadulterated truth.
We can't just browse, though. We need targeted search terms. We're looking for any connection between camels and espionage, any surveillance on Hecklefish. We need CAMEL's org chart. And, most important, we're digging for the personnel files for an agent named Gertie and her suspected handler, Dromedary Doris.
And we've got a hit. The data couldn't be clearer. Gertie's primary mission is to introduce something called truth dampening. She's on your screen to subtly misdirect you, to neutralize bizarre truths, and just make sure they never ever gain any traction.
Okay, so we have the intel. That's huge. But it's completely useless if we can't get it to Hecklefish and AJ. And that brings us to the delivery phase. This is the tricky part.
We can't just email this file, obviously. Camel's surveillance is way too sophisticated for that. So instead, we're using a Trojan horse. The data is going to be disguised as some random cryptid lore, and we're planting it deep in an obscure online forum. A forum we know Hecklefish checks obsessively.
Now, the encryption key. Get this, it's brilliant because it's so absurd. The file is locked, and the key is the precise dimensions, we're talking both metric and imperial, of the specific type of date fruit Gertie is known to love. It's a detail so random, no one would ever guess it.
The date package. Now, when Hecklefish says it, that phrase is going to mean absolutely nothing to Camel's listening posts. But it's the signal to AJ that they found our intel. It's perfect.
So, with the package delivered, we can now enter the final phase, activating our human asset on the ground. We need someone who can actually process this reality-bending information.
We're pushing a security update, but not to a computer. We're pushing it directly to the cognitive framework of our agent, who is codenamed the Chosen One. This is, for real, a fundamental upgrade to how they perceive reality itself. So what does this update do? Well, it grants them 2 critical abilities. 1, an innate sense to spot the seams in CAML's fabricated narratives, and 2, a 6th sense for, you guessed it, camel-related inconsistencies. Their job is to be our primary auditor, to prove that all of Gertie's riddle quirks are actually calculated espionage tactics. Okay, the pieces are in place. The data's on its way, our asset is active. The endgame is the final confrontation. And the best part, it's all gonna happen live, right in the public eye.
Here's how it's going to go down. First, Hecklefish and AJ get and decrypt the date package.
Then they're going to air a segment based on our intel, the truth about camels and classified data. The second that segment airs, Gertie's cover is blown. She's going to be forced to make a choice, live, on a global stage, destroy the broadcast and prove her guilt, or defect and join the side of full disclosure.
And this leaves us with the ultimate question. Is the agent, Gertie, the real problem here? Or is she just a symptom of a much larger issue, the CAML organization itself, a structural threat that has to be dismantled? The choice is going to be hers, but the consequences, they're for all of us. This briefing is concluded.